The Davidson Award is a significant award in the life of the church. It's only offered once a year, usually to one person. And it's made possible through the generosity of a man named Roy Mitchell Davidson. Roy was born in California, but when he was a child, his family moved to Vancouver and then to Alberta. And he graduated from the University of Alberta and was deeply committed to the Prairie Church. He passed away in 2000, and he did so as a career civil servant. He had retired in 1982 as Senior Deputy Director of Investigation and Research of what is now the Competition Bureau in Industry Canada. According to those who knew him, Roy was a gifted, caring human being with an abiding interest in public affairs, particularly in helping promote a united and prosperous Canada. He was also keenly interested in the United Church's commitment to sound theological scholarship and teaching. The purpose of the Davidson Award is to attract and retain outstanding people in the service of theological colleges associated with the United Church of Canada by providing an annual award for excellence in teaching and scholarship. This year, Anne and Ted are the co-recipients of this, and in recognition of that, a letter has come to them from Gary Patterson, our moderator, and Nora Sanders, the General Secretary of the United Church of Canada. Dear Anne and Ted, on behalf of the United Church of Canada, we are writing to congratulate you on being the 2012 joint recipients of the Davidson Award for Excellence in Teaching and Scholarship in Theological Education. Each of you as individuals have a distinguished history of making a significant contribution to theological education in our church, but it is especially fitting that you should be joint recipients this year. The impact you have made as colleagues bears witness to the power and wisdom of the Center's commitment to teamwork, partnership, and mutual empowerment. Together, you have shaped the lives and ministries of a generation of CCS students. That in itself would be sufficient. You have also helped give the Center for Christian Studies program its distinctive identity and educational mission, however, and made an important contribution to the United Church of Canada's evolving understanding of diaconal ministry. We are delighted that the width and breadth of your individual and joint contributions are being given the recognition that they deserve. We are sorry that we will not be in attendance on October 13th as your gathered communities celebrate you as the 2012 recipients of this award. Steve Willey and Joe Ramsey will be there on our behalf, however, and they will join so many others there who serve our church, and their happy gathering will be a vibrant, living reminder of the deep appreciation of all your colleagues and friends across this denomination. Gary Patterson and Nora Sanders. This Davidson Award simply brings to the surface and recognizes what you all already know, that in Ted and Anne, you and the church and the gospel have two exceptional teachers, two imaginative scholars, two faithful Christian servants of the gospel, and two extraordinary human beings. Please come forward and receive your award.
Had most of the people who shared student life with me at the Center for Christian Studies in 1977 been asked at that time, eliminating age as a factor, which of us would be least likely to be involved in ministry 35 years later, my name would have been near the top of the list. Too many questions, too many doubts, too unconventional, not spiritual enough, definitely not religious enough. Too quiet, and yet too opinionated. Too shy, and yet too rebellious. I arrived at the door of the school at 77 Charles Street West in Toronto on the Monday of a Labor Day weekend, carrying a bright orange backpack, a guitar, a strong dose of ambivalence, and a bit of attitude. I arrived haunted by a recent and intense introduction to the consequences of colonization for Aboriginal people and the role of the churches in the harm that was caused. I arrived troubled and confused about my own complicity and my own privilege. I was pretty sure I didn't believe in God, and I definitely wanted to have nothing to do with the Christian church. I arrived because 6 months previously, it had seemed like a good idea. And in that September moment, I simply did not know what else to do. Enter the educational philosophy of the Center for Christian Studies and the learning communities in which it was embodied. Learners need to be intentional, taking responsibility for engagement, reflection, self-direction, and goal setting. Education is enhanced when individual uniqueness is honored and respected within the community. My questions about everything were heard and valued. My critique, my shyness, my anger, my confusion, all were accepted. My reluctance to take leadership was challenged, gently but firmly, patiently and insistently. My learning needs were taken seriously, as were the learning needs of each and every student. The educational model then, as now, depended on students being committed to their own learning and to the learning of all others in the learning community, co-learners and co-leaders. This model of theological education called me into responsibility, into action, into community. It was this learning community in which, despite a rocky start, I found home. 22 years later, having sustained connection in a myriad of ways, just one moment here, I felt called to be co-learner and co-leader as staff in a new incarnation of the CCS learning community. What a privilege it is to be part of the learning communities that constitute the Center for Christian Studies. Learning circles, learning partners, learning facilitators, vocational mentors, field placements, assignments, external courses, student-led planning teams, student-led worship teams, learning relationships that number more than the stars in the sky. Our new banner highlights the words, reflect, act, be transformed. Transformation of self, community, world, and church. Transformation towards wholeness, towards justice, and toward compassion. Such is the core of theological education at the Center for Christian Studies. To be part of the process of students opening themselves to transformation, to witness the growth that comes from their hard work, to observe the commitment of all who accompany the students in their learning journeys, to be challenged and stretched, to learn with and from students, staff colleagues, and volunteers, to testify to compassion expressed and a vision of justice embraced, is a sacred gift. Hard work, yes, but a precious gift nonetheless. To be recognized for this work shared in team over the years with Ted, with other colleagues, and now also with Melan, is an honor, and it is humbling. I interpret the award as an affirmation of the model of theological education offered by the Center for Christian Studies, and as an affirmation of the value of teaming in the church. I am grateful to the Davidson family and to the United Church of Canada for this award. To receive it in this gathering tonight is particularly meaningful. I give deep thanks for the elders present, for the cloud of witnesses whose vision, courage, and love has brought us to this place, and for the students and grads who so ably are shaping the future. Thank you.
At the Leadership Development module of, it's the prerequisite course for the diploma program at the Center for Christian Studies. During a session focusing on education and learning, we show a series of classic video clips that illustrate a variety of teaching styles. In Music of the Heart, Meryl Streep plays a demanding, rigorous violin teacher who stretches her students by asking them to reach for high standards, to work hard, and to push themselves. In Dead Poets Society, Robin Williams offers a portrayal of a teacher who encourages his pupils to reflect critically, to think outside the box, to look at the world from a different perspective, and to imagine that world differently. And then for comic relief, in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Ben Stein lectures his students, his glazed-eyed, gum-popping, drooling, dead-asleep, totally bored students on American economic history using the repeated, unanswered question, anyone? And in Mr. Holland's opus, Richard Dreyfuss is toasted at his retirement, and in a moving speech that accumulates in his astounding three-hanky affirmation of his educator's role in his students' lives, they say, Mr. Holland, we are your opus. I consider this Davidson Award a deep affirmation. Not that I view myself as the talented and beloved Mr. Holland, but I do hope that I have Meryl Streep, or at least some Meryl Streep in me, and have pushed and stretched students. Not that I fancy that I haven't had my own Ferris Bueller boring moments, but I do hope that part of me embodies Robin Williams' ability to kindle the imagination. But mostly, however, I don't consider this a personal affirmation, but a salute to the CCS program. After all these years, we are still not the norm, and we probably never will be. But nevertheless, I consider the CCS educational approach to be pedagogical magic. We work with individuals, we encourage students to cultivate self-awareness, to exhibit the ability to be self-directed, and to nurture their own personal strengths. I like the line from Nell Morton, hearing into speech, helping people to find their voice. But we do all this work with individuals in community, emphasizing relationship, all intended to enhance teaming and respect for differences and honoring of diversity. The CCS program is a delightful mix. We take a strength-based approach, affirming gifts, recognizing talents, and valuing each learner as a child of God. That being said, we evaluate and assess at every turn. We try to make feedback normative. There's always more to learn and places to grow, and we value lifelong learning. The CCS program is an extraordinary combination. We offer a hands-on experiential learning in small groups, in creative activities, in engaged learning circles, and in practical placements. But alongside this direct and active connection, we pause. We journal, we spiral. We debrief and unpack, we articulate learnings, we reflect, reflect, reflect. And all of this pedagogical magic is, of course, intended to aid the transformative work of integration. Political and personal, theory and practice, head and heart, action and reflection, justice and compassion, prayer and politics, spirituality and social analysis. In the midst of the honor and blessing of being associated with this program, I stand before you grateful for students who engage and wrestle and care and who have taught me so much. For volunteers who support our efforts and broaden our reach. For staff members past and present. For your vision and passion. For your insight and laughter and prayer. And for the CCS community, which witnesses to faith and the crucial ministry of diaconia. And for friends and family who mostly overlook my foibles and carry me in steadfast love. Much appreciation, profound gratitude. Thank you.